All right, quick introduction about myself. Krishna, been in the database industry for 20 years around. Of course, I'm a community member, I'm an active CAB member as well. So, about DataWell, we've been in the industry for over 18 plus years. We are managed service providers. We do professional services as well. It could be like app modernization, database migrations, modernization, optimization, you name it, all that stuff. We've been a valued partner with Oracle, not just on the technology side, both on the services and product side as well. And yeah, it's been great. Core competencies, obviously, we do databases, data analytics, and enterprise business applications. Quick overview of our security credentials. All right, get to the topic now. So, MEM. Before I start, actually, how many of you already use MEM or have been using MEM? Quite a bit. That's good. All right, so we've been using MEM for the past 12 plus years, since MEM 2.0, I believe. Yep. And unfortunately, with MEM being end of life and deprecated, lots of our enterprise customers are looking for, okay, what should we do now? What are our options, right? It officially entered sustaining support. That means obviously you can still use it, but you don't get any security patches, developments, and all that stuff. So if you're already using it, you might have already started planning to make a switch, right? So as part of that, customers ask us, okay, what are our options? So there are many options to choose from, and we support a wide range of customers, from startups to SMBs to large enterprises. And here are some of the things that we mostly use and implement for customers. But when it comes to enterprise, obviously depending on whether you're using just database monitoring or full stack monitoring, there are multiple options. But fortunately, Oracle gave us two simple options. If you are an existing Oracle customer, you might have already used OEM. So it makes it easier and more meaningful, so you have one centralized monitoring solution. On the other hand, if you are on the cloud, obviously you have Oracle database management, which I'll leave it up for Sriram to talk about. So back to the question, right? Now, okay, we have OEM. How should we proceed with it? And by all means, this is not a comparison of any of the monitoring solutions. This is helping customers make that switch transition easily without any disruption. Okay, another question. How many of you have already used OEM or planning to use? Quite a bit. So we don't have to go into what OEM is and all. Makes it easier. So obviously it's been there for, I would say, roughly 20 plus years. Active development, continuing strong, that's good. And of course, depending on databases, platform integration, and it can support. Okay, another question. How many of you use it just for monitoring versus actual management?
I'm sorry, say that again.
How many of you actually use OEM not just for monitoring, but kind of operations management?
Well, what do you mean by operations management?
Good question. So some of our customers, they just don't use for monitoring, right? You can integrate that into several other applications, right? You can feed the data, you can make it part of your stack. Like if you have a large deployments for Chef or Puppet, right? You can make it part of your integration. So you can build the infrastructure, you can build the resources, and you can make it automated altogether. Hope I'm not wrong. And of course, you can monitor cloud services as well. Okay, now the fun part. how many of us aware of there is a plugin available for MySQL? Oh, great. We don't have to worry about it. Okay, if I recall correctly, the first time I have used for a customer, the plugin was probably back in 2015. I believe it was initially the Python code, which started supported, if I'm not wrong. But anyway, we are here. Of course, there are some prerequisites. You need to be on 13.5 to start using that plugin. And the plugin version, of course, the latest version is 13.5.3, which is released in Jan this year. And I'm looking forward to more and more as we get in there. It's actually included. It's part of your enterprise MySQL subscription, so you don't have to pay anything extra. Yeah, it's pretty much it out of the box. It supports MySQL 5.7, 8 and versions, but there is a catch, right? If you are running MySQL older versions, you just have to make sure you have the SysSchema version plugin that's already installed and enabled. If not, some of things might not work. I mean, it might be still there, but you don't see any data sets collecting. And by the way, feel free to ask any questions, feel free to interrupt me. We want to make it more interactive as much as we can. Okay, looks nice and beautiful. Very quick installation. I'm not going to go into the details of how to install all that, but it's pretty easy, lightweight. If you have been using OEM, you know how to set up OMS and all that stuff, inventory repository. So there are multiple ways. You can either do online installation or offline installation of the plugin, and then you can do the asset discovery, whether manually or auto discovery, and you can just do a bulk I would say installation of the agent. So there are lots of benefits, of course. It gives you the health dashboard, which is my favorite. You can look at the performance graphs. Looks pretty if you want to do those dashboards or share those reports with some of your business owners. It can do cloud service monitoring. So as I mentioned, you can integrate with others as well. You can feed the data. You can actually, I've seen some customers do the data flow into Splunk and others as well. So lots of cool features, but I'm going to focus more on the three things, the monitoring templates, because I think that's where everybody is more interested, right? You can schedule, you can have those configured metrics, and you can specify those thresholds for those metrics. But what I like about monitoring templates is you have several different application needs, and that application might have several non-prod, prod environments, and you might want to configure them differently based on your needs and requirements. And the beauty of it, you don't have to worry about doing it for each individual. You define a template, you apply that template to the target group versus the actual target instance. So you define that group, boom, it's all available. And another cool thing is, I'm going to get to the custom metrics in a while, but the import and export of rule set, which I felt it's very handy, especially if you run several OEMs, like non-prod environment of OEM versus prod environment of OEM, and if you have a different use case as well. So once you do that rule set export, you can export all the configuration, notification groups, and including I would say the thresholds and everything. So you don't have to manually reconfigure everything. So I have a non-prod OEM set up, I validate everything is working fine, then I just simply export that rule set and import into my production when it's ready. So I don't have to repeat all that stuff again. Okay. Some of you might be wondering, what is all these red flags? That's on purpose. We don't want it to be every green, right? That's not the real-time scenario. We see a lot of reds or yellows. So pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to go in there, but the corrective actions is something that I want to focus a little bit, because some of the things that we see is you may have a busy system and you might have SLAs defined and everything, but at the same time you want the corrective actions to be taken. For an example, some of these can be correlated events, right? You may have a locking issue, and the locking issue might lead to connection spike depending on what type of lock, and that might lead to CPU spike, or even depending on what kind of performance operation you're doing, it might even lock into disk IO. So you might get a correlated series of events, right? And okay, if you are one of those folks like me who wants to be operationally efficient, you don't want to tackle like 10-15 different alerts for just one correlated incident. You might want to consider grouping them into something similar, something more meaningful, something more relevant, which can be actionable before it gets a bigger issue. So another thing that I want to mention is the integration with third-party services, which is great. Again, if you can integrate that into your Slack channel, into ServiceNow or PagerDuty, you might have other services that you might want to notify and escalate to specific channels. So you can do that. Sorry about that. There it is. This is one of my favorite, I would say, event compression policies. We kind of talked about it, but you can group them into several similar types, especially, I mean, the top one you can see, you can compress those events based on your specific requirements. Again, that's just for an example. Don't take it for granted. And yeah, the bottom categories you can see for non-prod or operating system metrics and into database metrics. And of course, you can have the rule level compression enabled for those specifics. And you'll see that in the next slide, where we can see grouping of those related events and improving of service ops. This one. You might want to run monthly reports, right? Especially if you're an ops person. Okay, how many incidents or how many alerts the team has been working on for a specific business application or the databases that you support. What can we do to improve efficiency, right? We don't want to tackle 100 plus incidents daily, right? What can we do to make it more efficient? Of course, long-term solution is to identify the root cause, understand it, fix it. But the short-term thing is you don't want your resources to spend working on tickets. So what can you do? You can probably, before you actually run this, you might have to have some data collected, right? Let it run for a few months or a few weeks, depending on how busy your system is. Then you run that analyzer, and you can clearly see for the past 1 week, which is obviously 13 through 8, probably 5 days, yes. There is a slight dip, and what made that improvement is because of the compressions that we have for the incident or the events. And again, that's just for an example. You can do a lot of things. Going back to my actionable items, right? You might have a long-running connection or a long-running query, and you might have a nightly batch job that's running, and that's expected. You might want to have that job to finish so you can have the reports ready in the morning. You don't want to kill it. You don't want to interrupt that job. And some business owners want to be notified of that. Or if there is a process that's blocking that nightly transactional job, whatever you're running, you might want to notify the business owners so they can address that before it gets escalated in the morning and causing disruption to business, right? So, and that's where you can define configurable actions within OEM itself. Hey, I want so-and-so job that's running on so-and-so time. If it gets completed within the anticipated time, that's great. If it not, then I want to be notified to so-and-so people. Or I want to take an action, maybe kill something is blocking that job. Or I want to prioritize, no, I have a maintenance job going on, so I would rather kill that job itself and let the maintenance operation finish. So you can define those customized actions.
So can you explain a little more what you mean by event compression?
So take an example, right? You have events triggered, based on the thresholds that you set or configure, right? And let's say, for an example, the locking issue that I mentioned earlier, and you trigger a locking like for from query that's taking more than 60 seconds to run. Okay, it triggered an event, and continuously you may have series of similar queries that hitting the database, and now you have a connection spike, like you have like 20 connections of similar jobs that's running, and all of them got locked. And now you have two issues. One is the locking issue, one is a connection spike issue. And correlated, you may have another table, alter table, huge command that's running. And that's causing your disk IO spike as well, and CPU spike as well. Now you have 4 different events triggered. Though it's all from the same instance, and it's all correlated to the one issue that's happening. So instead of generating, and if you have like a fleet of servers, like probably hundreds of instances or services, then just imagine how many alerts it's going to trigger. So event compression helps you group them, those similar events, into, you can define it 1 or 2, how frequently, how much duration, how much recovery time you want to set. All that thing is configurable. So instead of addressing 20 plus alerts for the same issue on one server or one instance, you're probably looking at 3-4 incidents that are more manageable and actionable. I hope I made self clear.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, logs. This is something it took me, to be frank, it took me some time to figure this out. It's not easy to find those logs, but we made it. So there are different log types, right? And all these logs are at the agent level on the target database instance. These are not on the OEM server side or the OMS server side. These are all on the target assets, target plugins, target instances. Of course, you can look at the log location, self-explanatory. I would probably say the first one, plugin logs, that's, you might see, as you can see, that's probably the manual asset addition. You find those log entries in there. If you do an auto discovery from OEM, then you might have that logs location in a different path. So that's fair. And you can actually configure the log levels with that configuration setting. Just an example which shows the different type of logs. Of course, even you do auto discovery, you still have those availability and asset logs for each individual agent and the target that you monitor through that agent. Make sense? Question? Okay. Moving along. Okay, favorite part. This is probably not the up-to-date snippet, but again, this requires the schema version to be available, so you can actually collect the query stats and you can run an actual analyze of that query and explain plan. But yeah, this is pretty handy, especially if you are on the performance side, looking at proactively monitoring what's going on, what's the spike, historical information. You can go back, find out all that information. So of course, we can have sample queries and jobs reports run in addition to what's being captured from the query analyzer here. Pretty graphs, so I'm sure this would make the reports look nice and pretty. Self-explanatory, I'm not going to deep dive onto this unless anybody has any questions. Okay, fun part, HA monitoring. We actually had some challenges initially, even within MEM, because we couldn't really monitor InnoDB clusters directly in MEM for quite some time. So we had to work around and we had to write some custom scripts, use those custom scripts into MEM to collect and monitor. Fortunately, with OEM, especially in the Jan release, we got that taken care thanks to Oracle. By having it ready, it's come in pretty handy, especially as we transition from MEM to OEM. Of course, you have all the status, metrics, monitors. I'm not going to go in detail, but I would like to point out the router monitoring capability because it's probably not that straightforward. You can still configure InnoDB cluster nodes. You can have them discovered. That's great, but especially if you want the router nodes to be monitored or discovered, then you probably have to add them specifically as a MySQL database, not part of the cluster. I hope that makes sense. Okay. The log monitoring. So this is something that we encourage everybody, and we have been doing this for our customers as well. The MySQL log monitoring, even the router log monitoring, so you can capture errors from the router log and have them notified, which is something that's been missing in MEM for quite some time. So I'm happy to see that as well. On the right side, you see the long running backup status reports, and these are all the custom scripts that we have in MEM that we are in the process of moving over and switching into OEM. Active work is been going on. Hopefully by the end of this quarter we'll have that live and ready tested, so we have everything that's mostly customization. Whatever we have in MEM should be available in OEM for some of our customization reports. All good? Okay.
And are those scripts that you just wrote for your own organization?
I mean, not for our organization, for our customers based on their specific needs. Even in fact, we even have some of those partition management. So some customers, they want to see like what partitions they have, are they being rotated and all that stuff. So it's based on the requirements of those individual business owners that we have those customizations built into MEM, and hopefully we'll have that in OEM seamlessly. Again, there's some testing to be done, so I'm being positive, but I'm not 100% sure at this point. So
Excuse me. For the router, have you shared that with Oracle? Because if we go and download this plugin right now, we don't get the router. It's only on database we get.
Okay, so the question was, is Oracle aware of the issue with the router? I think it's probably, I don't know, I cannot speak on behalf of Oracle, but somebody from the product team can. But what my observation was, it's probably by design, because it's, I mean, if you ask me, 100% agree. When you do an auto discovery, it should automatically collect that, hey, you have a router node that's sitting on top and you might want to get it, but I probably defer to.
So is that a question on router monitoring?
Yeah.
So yeah, we are working on that. So you will see some progress maybe this year.
Yep, hopefully. Yeah, so I mean, absolutely right. So we don't have to manually do that. It should be able to auto discover as part of the cluster architecture. So topology. So good one. Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, this is one of my favorites, and I know those who are on the security side, Mike, and I keep bothering you guys on the MEM side for this one for quite some time, because this is one of the most favorite features some of those enterprise customers are looking for, especially in MEM where we had to do all these manually. We have those automation scripts, and every quarter, right? I'm sure those who are working closely with IT security or InfoSec, they might say, okay, hey, can we get this audit clearance done? And what you need to do all the checks, send the report, extract it, show them proofs. Okay, all good, green light, that's good. Imagine if you have to do that every quarter you have a set of applications, how cumbersome it would be. Of course, you can automate it to some extent, but wouldn't it be nice and wonderful to have it all built in? And that's exactly the compliance report here on the OEM, which is one of my favorites, I would say. And of course, it's probably missing some advancements, which I would hope to see. And we have those customizations for user audit, review of roles and permissions. And I'm sure more and more metrics is going to be added. I mean, frankly, because there hasn't been a lot of active development in this side of OEM MySQL for the past couple of years, but I'm glad to see since 2023 there has been some active development. So I'm confident, I'm hopeful we'll see more and more things get added. Okay, look at the score. Isn't it nice? 98% compliance score. Okay, and look at that number of targets. So again, let's get into the details. The compliance report is something that categorized into several areas, right? You can do the administration side, you look at the configuration review and all that, and you can look at the schemas. And I'm not going deep onto individual, because even if I start going deep dive into all these, that's going to take a lot of time. So there is a good documentation available already. You can run those reports yourself, you can look at them. And this is actually more useful for us, because as we work with more and more enterprise customers, and when we talk to them, the common question that comes in, okay, where are we standing in our data maturity models? And security and governance compliance plays a huge role in the database maturity model. I'm sure all of you agree. And having these green flags and the compliance scores would really help to get a way in and justify as we work with the customers. Okay, you don't have to worry about it, you are already on track, you are making good progress, and you can even actually go back and read on these reports. Okay, last quarter we are at so and so level, and this quarter let's see how progress we made. So something that you can measure, something that you can report, runs off of, and something that you can show as a proof. One of my favorites. All right, I think we probably are at it. Oh, this happened again, sorry. Oh, okay, we are at the end. So any questions, comments, feedback?